I'm Elaine Sims. I'm on the campus of St. Catherine's College in Pettis Auditorium here in the Allied Health Building. And today I have with me Mr. Tom Bystrip. I'm going to say a native of Springfield, but a longtime resident of Springfield, married to a Springfield native. Has been a familiar face to me and my family for many years. Came to St. Catherine's, you taught at the high school.
27 years.
And then you came to St. Catherine's.
On 9/11. Easy to remember what day I started.
You came on 9/11.
Yeah. Pretty interesting day to start a new job.
Yeah, 12 years ago.
Uh-huh.
Wow, it's hard to believe.
I know.
When you came here, you came as communications director?
Director of communications.
So you did what Jesse Osborne does.
Did what Jesse.
Still had that job?
We've obviously elevated the job since I had it. And I am serious about that. Jimmy Earls and Jesse have taken it to a new level, you know, with their expertise in graphic design, different things. Yeah, they've done a great job.
Yes,
I guess taking over for the amateur that I was. You know, there's only one way up, way to go, and that was up. So,
you did a great job.
They've done well, yeah. And then following that, went to sports information director, assistant athletic director, and then just in May of this year became athletic director.
Became athletic director. How has your role changed in that? Going from the position you had before athletic director to this one, what is?
I was hoping that the hours are different. There's more of them. I didn't know if there could be more of them from director of communications, but it's fun. It's fun. Of course, I've been in athletics my whole life.
You love sports.
And so it's it's a labor of love, I guess you'd say. You know, it's a lot of hours, but you're working with young kids, athletes, coaching staff. It's great here. And you don't even, I mean, you look up, gosh, I was here 14 hours today. I mean, it's just like, you know, goes so quickly, you know, it's fun.
Well, and I mentioned it earlier in another interview, you just do what you love and love what you do, so it's great.
Yeah, it's nice.
And I know you've always loved the sports.
Yeah.
And you have 3 daughters, so it's nice to be able to share this with all the other sports fanatics in your life.
Oh, they are definitely sports fanatics for sure. So they enjoy it, and you know, and like I say, I enjoy what I'm doing. It's fun every day, different challenge every day. But
well, we had President Houston earlier, and he was saying that Pikeville was here last night, lost in an overtime.
Gosh, what a disappointment! But we'll get them back though.
So we may have a really good year.
Yes, I think it'd be. It'd be the best year since we went to the national championship 3 years ago.
Yeah.
We have 2 guys getting eligible at Christmas. We lost out last night basically because of rebounding. Pikeville's real big, and we have a couple guys that'll be eligible at Christmas, 6'9", 6'7" kids that will make a big difference.
Are they new to the campus?
They are new this fall. The eligibility requirements didn't allow them to become eligible till the second semester this year. So, but good guys, good players. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting year for men's basketball and women too. A tough loss last night, but I think they're going to get it together after the break too.
Yeah. So you're over the women's and the men's as athletic director. You do spend a lot of hours.
Tennis, golf, bowling.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I can remember when the exercise equipment was donated here. Were you here then? And then they had to put it all up on the stage because there wasn't any place else to put it?
Yeah.
I was thinking Martha Lane was here then, but I guess Mr. President Houston was.
I say I was here. I remember just from covering sports out here from the Springfield Sun that I remember it being up there.
Yeah, I just didn't have any place to put it.
We've since moved to our spacious. We're looking to move again. If we can find room, because Mr. McCoy, who was our commencement speaker, he is CEO of Brunswick. Anyway, he said he was willing to help us out, get some new equipment, new equipment for the weight room. So what our idea is, if we can find room in one of the empty rooms in the dorm, is to move our old stuff there so the general education students have a place to work out and still have our athletes. So that'll work out well.
That'd be good.
Yeah,
that'd be great. That'd be good. I think one reason we're supposed to be here today also is to talk about we're starting a new program.
We are.
A sports program here.
Soon.
Okay.
Soon, as soon as I get a coach.
Okay.
Yes, we're starting wrestling. When you say that, it's kind of funny. I said that to a couple faculty members that will go unnamed, but I really think they thought we were starting wrestling like you see on TV. I said, no, we're not having any tag teams or anything. Oh, yeah, I watch that on TV.
What's
I
the
said,
guy's
no.
name? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, the Undertaker or all
Yeah,
those names, you know. But I said, no, this is Olympic style wrestling. So it's a neat sport. I thought we're kind of isolated in Washington County because we don't have wrestling at the high school, and I'm thinking to myself, not many schools did. And I looked at the Kentucky High School Athletic Association. There's like 150 schools, high schools in Kentucky that have wrestling.
Goodness.
Yeah, I had no idea. And for that reason, it behooves us to start it, because out of, you take 150 high school that wrestle at maybe 20, 30 kids, but there's only a handful of colleges in the state that have it. None of the Division I's have it.
Really?
No. I was in Louisville the other day talking to Tom Jurich at U of L, and I said, why is it that, he said, oh, I'd love to have wrestling. I'd love to, but he said, we're just not, it's just not in our plans right now for whatever reason. Kentucky doesn't have it. None of the Division I schools, I don't think any of them in Kentucky have it. In our own conference, Campbellsville, Cumberland's, Lindsey Wilson, Cumberland, Tennessee, we'd be the 5th school in our conference to have it.
Huh.
But what I was going to say about that is that you got all these high school kids coming out and nowhere to go, at least in the state. So we're looking to immediately have 30 wrestlers minimum next year, which is great.
Wow.
Great for enrollment. You have like 10 weight classes, so if you have 2 or 3 in each weight class, which you would think you'd have, we'll have 30, maybe 40
and that equipment
wrestlers.
you already have with wrestling, you have to have a facility to do it in, which is not.
Well,
you have to have the pads, I guess.
Right. We got to have the mats, and I've been dealing with that a lot this morning too. Is facilities we're limited. The gym right now is. It's only used probably 20 hours a day, so we can wrestle from 2 to 6 in the morning. That's not a big exaggeration. I mean, you've been by. People ask me all the time, "Why are the lights on in the gym at 1 in the morning?" I said, "Because there's people in there practicing." But we're looking at facilities. We actually looked at, in this building, the shell downstairs. If you're familiar with that, that was once just a shell. Now they put a classroom in there, but it was.
The one with Betty Brookfield's mural on it?
Yeah, it's actually big enough, just barely big enough. But then we've also pursued the Berg gymnasium down there, Parish Center, whatever, as using that. And I think that's a better option because we can actually get 2 mats in there. And the only problem, of course, is transporting the kids from here to there every day for practice. But 6 miles from campus here, so that's not bad either. So that might be our best option, because the shell now, which I didn't realize till I went down there a week ago, actually has offices adjacent to it now.
Oh, that's right.
We think that the noise and or the smell of wrestling would run them out of the offices. So we're looking probably at the Berg.
Yeah. Well, when I started to think about, I was looking at this and I thought, why would we start wrestling? But your explanation definitely explains it, because it would it's not offered to, and I know I have a great nephew that's been out of high school for years. I think he went to Trinity and he wrestled there.
Yeah. We have, locally, Woodford County, one of the best wrestling programs in the state. Nelson County now has a good one. LaRue has been one of the best.
Interesting.
Boyle has it. So, we don't have to go very far for recruiting.
Yeah.
And Cumberland's has, and this was a big shock to me, and I'm sure it will be to the viewers, they have women's wrestling. College women's wrestling.
Really?
Didn't even know such existed. They have 60 women wrestlers on their program. Campbellsville's just starting women, but Lindsey Wilson has 40 to 50. You're talking about a program that can bring in possibly, if you added women, 80 to 100 students. Which for us is huge.
Well, I know you can't interpret this, but why would women want to wrestle except, I guess, to keep in shape? Really? I guess it's a good way to I don't mean to, physically, just to be healthy.
Right.
And not everybody I do think this generation right now coming on to early college is much more conscious.
Oh,
I think really health-wise.
No doubt.
At least that's the exposure I've seen.
Yeah.
I see it out here.
Sure.
I see it out here.
Yeah, I think you're right. And but I was just real surprised that it was so big. And the only issue with that is, yes, they have it, but who are you going to wrestle? Because, like I said, I think it's just Lindsey Wilson and Cumberland's, and now Campbellsville are the only three probably in the state. So you look at their schedules, they're going to Pennsylvania, Illinois, North Carolina. Travel's a big issue because that's the only places that have it, in addition to them. But it's, I had, like I said, I had no idea that there was such a sport.
Well, for our audience, if they haven't stuck with the Olympics during the times when they were waiting to watch something else and watched wrestling, because it's not something I usually chose to watch, can you kind of explain to them what you do in men's wrestling? I think they might be interested in that.
Yeah, I tell you, it's a great sport. I had a buddy, one of my good friends in high school, that wrestled, and it's intense, as you could imagine, just from the physical confrontation part of it. But the crowd is into it. It's it's basically 3 periods of 3 minutes, I think, a period, and points are awarded by takedowns. Of course, pinning is the ultimate victory.
And they stay close to the ground at all times.
Yeah, and we're not throwing guys off the ropes.
Would be when their shoulders or a takedown would be when they go.
When actually, they start both in upright positions, and to physically take a guy down off his feet onto the mat is awarded 2 points, and then you get points for an escape. If you have a guy in a hold and he escapes, he gets a point for that. So the scoring's interesting. And
it's actually kind of a slow sport to watch because they're so precise and so careful.
Yeah,
because their strength, I'm sure a lot of it is strength building, concentrating, breathing to keep your muscles oxygenated so that you can hold a position so that you can't let the other person push you down on the mat.
It's brutal. I mean, next to boxing, and I equate it with boxing a lot, because boxing, anyone who's boxed, you go a 3-minute round for 10 rounds. I mean, it's all you can do to hold your hands up. Your gloves it's just really, and wrestling the same. And boxing somewhat like this too, but wrestling is so difficult. I had a conversation with a kid here yesterday that's actually a JV basketball player, and I saw he had Jeffersontown Wrestling on. I said, "Hey, you gonna wrestle for us?" "I sure want to, as soon as we get a team."
Wow.
I said, but he was talking to me about the difficulties. He said, he said, I started in a 120 weight class, then I gained a few pounds, went to 125, and then to 130, but the coach wanted me to wrestle at 120 because that was my most success. So at the same time you got to be building strength, you can't gain weight. So you're lifting, but then you can't eat. It's just really a seesaw battle, because you want to stay strong, but you can't gain weight either, so it's really tough.
But it's not really probably as dangerous as boxing.
No, by no means.
It's a very physical. It's a strength sport.
I mean, the injuries would be much less severe, than boxing. Although I was surprised that when we talked about wrestling, that your insurance liability goes up quite a bit, because I really don't see serious injuries in wrestling.
If you're doing proper, if you're using the proper techniques. They showed the other day 2 people doing arm wrestling. Oh, it was brutal on television. Said, turn this off if you can't. And they were doing it wrong, and they had their elbows in the wrong position. And you saw one man's arm just snap here and hit the bone. It didn't come out of the. But I mean, that's again, you learn proper alignment. But it's interesting to watch. And I'm much more excited about the program now than I kept thinking, why would we offer wrestling? But I think that's really interesting. And it would be interesting to watch.
It'd
be very educational for people in this area. It's just like, I think soccer wasn't really brought in here until our girls were, in school.
Right.
Really, I don't know, Margaret didn't, but they didn't have soccer here. That was foreign to us. We just haven't been around all that stuff.
And people still don't gain the appreciation for soccer that unless they know the intricacies of the offense and things, but once you get into it a little bit, it's a pretty interesting sport. And wrestling, you're right, is the same. So the problem is, when you're talking about spectators, is we probably, at least the first year, maybe the first 2 years, I don't know that we would be hosting events, except if we can get more in our conference, we could actually, in our conference, which currently has 10 members, I think you have to have 6 schools in order to sanction the sport as a conference sport. So we're still one short of that. But once we get that, then we would obviously have a conference tournament somewhere locally. And I think it could be a huge spectator sport. It's a lot of fun.
Well, today's the anniversary of John Kennedy's death, and I think so often about the exercise program that we got into. I graduated from high school in 1965, and it was because of John Kennedy.
Right.
And then here we are talking about sports and exercise, and this is the anniversary of his death is today. It would have been
2 hours ago.
2 hours ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I had to mention that because I had mentioned it in the other interviews today. Because for the people out there watching, many of the people I'm sure remember where they were on that day. It's that tragic day that really changed.
Yeah, I heard someone last night talking about, basically they said Pearl Harbor, 9/11, and JFK were probably the 3 things that stick out in the history, in the last 100 years that people could say exactly what they were doing. I was actually filling out my tax forms over in the administration building, and Jane Abel was in financial aid. She came by and said, there's a plane that flew close to the World Trade Center and sparked, there's a little fire in the World Trade Center. And I've just kept writing, and then 5 minutes later, everything breaks loose. And at that time, we had 1 television on campus. It was in Gary Whittle's office, which is now where Evelyn Silliman is. And by the time I walked from the administration building there, I bet there was 40 people in his office, which is about as big as this table, and watching that little TV, and by the time I got there...
I was on the phone telling my husband that it had happened, and as I was on the phone with him, I said, unless they just did a replay, it just happened again. And it was when the second building went. So, we all remember that.
Yeah, exactly. So. But, President Kennedy did, as far as I know, he was the first to initiate any kind of a fitness type program.
And I mean, it stuck with me.
Yeah.
It definitely stuck with me.
There was actually a criteria where you could, if you did this, this, and this, you could go up on the presidential fitness level or whatever.
We did that. Well, thank you for being here.
Well, you're welcome.
We've covered about everything we can. Well, no, there's a lot more we could talk about.
We are currently taking resumes for the coach, and we hope to have him in place by first of the year.
Okay.
Wrestling coach, so he can start. Wrestling basically parallels their season the same as basketball. It's about November to about March.
Oh, okay. November to March.
Yeah. So if we can get one in place by the first of the year, he'll have 3 months to recruit. And the ones I've already talked to said 30 kids, no problem. These kids want to go on to wrestle, and they're just not being contacted because there's just not that many options for them. So.
Well, and we're talking to reliable sources because they're coaches. They're not just looking for a job, but they certainly want to have students to coach.
So it's going to be fun.
Well, good. Well, gosh, that's exciting. Yeah. One more new thing to talk about at St. Catherine's.
That's right.
Thank you for being here on this Jury Day.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it very much.